everyone, this is your coach Mary from tapintoaction.com, and today's radio show is about whether or not we've got a lack of clarity problem or a fear problem. So here's how I hear this. I have people come up and say to me, I'd like to work with you because I don't have any clarity about what I want to do. I don't have clarity about this book. I've always wanted to write a book, but I don't have clarity about what it's about. Or I want to make a job change, but I don't have clarity about what I would like to do instead. Or I'm not sure about this relationship. I'm not sure if I want to stay in it, and I'm not sure if I want to get out of it. So I have this lack of clarity, and I'd like to come and work with you and get some clarity. And I've learned over the years that when we kind of start out as this whole idea of clarity, what can I, do I have this clarity? I don't have any clarity. We're tapping around it and whatnot, and it's not clearing, and it's not clearing, and it's not clearing, and it's not clearing. And some of you will say, yes, I've been tapping on clarity too, and I haven't had any clearing either. Mary, why is that? Well, here's what I'm going to pick up the corner of this question and maybe do some exploration underneath it. What could possibly be getting in the way of us getting clarity? You can tap till you're blue in the face around, I don't have clarity, I don't have clarity. And let me tell you, I think that you will get there. I think where you will get is you will either begin to find out what is getting in your way, what is really keeping you from getting your clarity, or you'll just have been persistently tapping on that. Without knowing it, you'll have been removing some blocks that you didn't even know were there that are okay, and now that they're gone, you've released them, even though you're not sure what they are. You're all of a sudden moving. You find yourself having clarity. But here's the thing, is that looking at what is getting in the way of our clarity gives us a more specific target, or at least we're getting a little bit closer to the target about why we aren't having clarity. So if we ask ourselves, what's the risk of having clarity? What would have to happen if you did have clarity? This is where I think I hear people collectively go, oh, yeah, gosh, if I had clarity, then I would have to take an action. Most of the times, that's what I hear from people. It means for them that something would have to happen. If I knew instead what I wanted to do, I'd have to leave my job and actually step out into it. I would have to, if I knew what it was about my relationship, if I really was to look at it, I'd have to make a decision. And that decision might even be to uncouple, to actually step outside of the relationship, or it might mean to really come back into the relationship. I do want this relationship, and I'm going to have to give my all to it. This lack of clarity is a safe holding place. It kind of keeps us in this place where we don't really have to do anything. So the risk of having clarity means that then I would have to do something, and that's when we really start to find out, I'm not ready to do something. The ramifications of having this decision are too great. And so the lack of clarity, even though I'm pushing against it, is still easier to handle than any of the decisions I have to make. If you've been listening to me at all, you know that I say our brain is brilliant, and it will come up with a solution that will keep us safe. Now you may say, yes, but my lack of clarity is very painful. And I say, it is. On a scale of 0 to 10, you may say that's a 10. But this lack of clarity is causing a lot of pain. And yet if I said to you, okay, now look at what the ramifications if you had clarity, and that's how you get to it. What if I had clarity? What if tomorrow I woke up and I had clarity? What would it mean? Ooh, gosh, then I'd have to figure out what to do with my job, and that's pretty scary. I'd have to figure out what to do with my relationship. That's pretty scary. And I go, boom. Now, on a scale of 0 to 10, how complex and potentially painful might that be, or complicated? And all of a sudden people go, oh, that's a 20. And I said, yes. And your mind said, well, the 10 of lack of clarity, feels a heck of a lot better of the 20 of having to make these decisions and follow through with them. And so while that 10 of lack of clarity still hurts and it's still uncomfortable, your brain is saying this is a better solution than the alternative, because it sees it as very either or. Either we have clarity or we lack clarity. So one of the things we do when we are tapping is when we want to be able to get to really what is the source of my concern. And is it really the clarity, or what would happen if I had clarity? Now that you've asked yourself that question, I know you've come up with a list of answers about what is the risk of having clarity. And everybody's is going to be different, okay, depending on what your issue was, what that is going to be, the risk involved. And chances are there's another alternative fear of unknown. It would require some walking into something that is unfamiliar, okay? Because if you leave a job, you're still coming into the unfamiliar. If you want to start up a new business, you finally get you got clarity around what you were going to specialize in, and you needed to put your website out. Well, guess what? It brings up new fears. What if I do that and nobody wants my services? What if I do that and I'm not qualified to do it? I don't know enough to do it. And somebody calls me on that, and I find out that I'm as inadequate as I feel. See, I could just go on and on and on, because that's what happens. These are all the things that are underneath the cover of I don't have clarity. We peel that back, we see what's underneath it. Now we're really facing our fears, because now we can look at those. We can really look at them and say, one, we can tap on them. What is my experience with that? How do I know that? What's the risk involved? And let me do some tapping about that directly. And let me find any old events in my life where I learned that I wasn't deserving of that, or that people who are creative really shouldn't be making money. I can blow out some of my old beliefs about it. In other words, you're just going to find a treasure trove of information once we get past that question of I don't have clarity. Be willing to go there, because right now all it is a list. All it is something for you to look at. You don't have to take any other action other than being honest with yourself. We can break that down from there. Is that okay? Great, Mary. Now that I've got this honesty, I'm looking at all these things I'm petrified about. No wonder I don't have clarity. What do I do? Well, start tapping on that. What is the concern about it? My first step for you is to be able to look at it so that you can start to see that there's many moving parts. Clarity is only a part of it, but there are really many moving parts for you around this clarity issue. And when you see them, you can start to chunk them away. You can start to do the work. You can start to help your mind say, is that really true? I would have to make that big, huge leap. Is it true that if I decided that I was done with this job and I really had a different interest, that I would have to leave this job, I would have to quit it, be in a place where I have no income, and throw myself into this other career with absolutely no background or experience? Is it really true? Sometimes we can get there without even having to tap. It's just a matter of looking at it and asking ourselves, is that really true? Write that down on a sticky note. Add it to your collections of little sayings to be able to constantly jog your memory around saying, is that really true? That if I decide to not stay in this relationship, that I would have to leave tomorrow, that I would have to tell them that this is the end of it, that I would have to take those steps immediately. Is that really true? Or is it really true that if I decide to stay in this relationship, I'm just going to have to really open up and trust and give and try and stuff like that? You know, not saying that you would not be taking some actions, but is it really true that as soon as I make that decision, everything is going to have to change? Everything is going to have to radically change in my life and be so unfamiliar to me that there's nothing in me that's going to say yes. Right? We are not designed to necessarily just flat out say, yes, start it tomorrow, that's just the way it is. We need most of the time, and this could be a belief, but nevertheless it's one that continues to play itself out is sometimes we need preparation time. We do need to be able to contemplate it. We need to be able to look at it from different sides to see who we will be when that happens. There's a bond that's an energetic bond that happens with us and our thoughts that we have to kind of peel away. So we have more time than a lot of times we allot ourselves. Occasionally in life, there are times where we have to make very big decisions and we have to just rip that Band-Aid off and make a big jump. But it's much rarer than we imagine it to be. That's the truth. I'm not saying it never happens, but that is probably an exception to it. So part of it is being able to again, peel it back and look at what are our concerns so we can really slow it down, take things apart, be better planners, have more of strategies. But we can't do that from this place of I lack clarity. So let's do some tapping on this, all right? I know that you're going to say, well, what is it that I tap on? And I'm going to anticipate that there's something that you think that you would need to do, that you would have to take an action that doesn't feel comfortable if you had clarity. And we're just going to start there. So think about that. You've asked yourself this question, what if I did have clarity? What would it mean for me to have clarity? And even if you kind of just blanked out, you just kind of went numb and you said, I don't know. Well, tap anyhow with us, okay? Because chances are there's a part of you that does know. And you could even say, well, if I did know, what would I say? Even if it's not correct. Let me throw something out there. What would be a possibility? I would have to what? If I had this clarity, then it would what? I'd have to take an action. You know what action it would be. So we're going to be kind of global in this and start to tap. So we're going to start on the karate chop spot. Even though up till now I haven't had clarity about what I want to do, what I want to be, what I want to have. And I know my reason why. It was safer to not be clear than to have clarity. And that's okay. Now that I see and understand, I'm still accepting and loving myself. Even though up till now, I thought I wanted clarity. Now I understand what was been getting in my way. Now I can see what was stopping me. And I'm open to the idea that I can look at this and make decisions from a calm and centered place. Even though up till now I haven't known what I wanted, I didn't have clarity, now I have a better understanding of what's been stopping me. I can make the choice to work on those things at a pace that I call mine, when I'm ready, and in the way that works for me. And at the eyebrow, I used to think I didn't have clarity. Side of the eye, sometimes I still don't feel like I have clarity. Under the eye, but now I know. Under the nose, what if I did have clarity? Chin, what would that mean? Collarbone, I think I would have to take some action. Under the arm, and that's what scares me. Top of the head, if I have clarity, back at the eyebrow, then I'm going to have to take a big action. Side of the eye, that's pretty scary. Under the eye, what if I make a mistake? Under the nose, what if I pick the wrong thing? On the chin, what if I make a bad choice? Collarbone, what if I never recover from it? under the arm. Now I see that my lack of clarity, top of the head, was helping me. Eyebrow, but I now choose, side of the eye, to be clear in a new way. Under the eye, I choose to be clear about the consequences of having clarity. Under the nose, man, that's a mouthful. On the chin, but I get it. Collarbone, my first step is, under the arm, to get clear about what it means to get clear. Top of the head, not because I have to take an action. Back at the eyebrow, but so I can see my choices. Side of the eye, I can lay out a plan. Under the eye, I can figure out strategies. Under the nose, I can see the choice. On the chin, and I'll take it when I'm ready. Collarbone, but for right now, under the arm, I allow my clarity, top of the head, to be a tool to help me grow and make better choices. And take a breath. So when we think about this differently, we think about clarity as being a place for us to go to play so that we can see what crops up, so that we can find what's hidden, all of those little hidden fears that don't really show up until we take that step. And that's what's fascinating about the subconscious mind is that it will tell you where your blocks are, what your fears are, and it will help you know where those old experiences come from so that we can tap them. But it does that as we step forward. Sometimes people will think, well, I need to clear everything so I can step forward. And the truth is that if you start to intend to step forward, if everything in you says, yes, I'm going to step forward, everything will rise right up to tell you, maybe you shouldn't. Perhaps you should be a little bit more cautious. And then we've got our tapping targets because we're able to figure out what's getting in our way. If there is a past event, it will show itself. We can ask ourselves, what does this remind me of? Or what's another time where I had to make a choice like that and I was afraid about making choices, or the messages I got. Now you get the clarity about what needs to be worked on, what needs to be worked through, what you want to release. That's the kind of clarity you want. It may not be specifically around this job change or this relationship, but it's clearing all the other little clutter that goes along with it, that it permits you to really stand in your decisions, to own them from a place of deep heart of this is right for you and what's right in your life right now. Okay? So, we're playing with this idea of clarity. There might be other things that happen with clarity too, but for right now I've given you a whole wealth of things for you to be able to tap on or to at least have some recognition. You just begin by looking at and getting curious about what would happen if you had that clarity. Play with this. Get together with a friend. Play this game. But what if you did know? What would come up? And there you've got it. That's how you start to clear the road. So let me hear from you. You can reach me at Mary@tapintooaction.com. You can go to tapintooaction.com to see all of the past radio shows. I have them all there. Lots of tools to get into action, lots of tools to help you with your tapping, lots of tools to help you with your success. So again, this is your coach, Mary Ayers, wishing you the best. Have the best day ever and stay brilliant.